It is Tuesday, February 23. Welcome to CGN News. The European Union, the EU, on Monday removed Barbados from the so-called blacklist of jurisdictions considered non-cooperative for tax purposes, but added Dominica because it said the island still does not fully meet international standards. Barbados was added to the EU list in October 2020 after it received a partially compliant rating from the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development Global Forum for Transparency and Exchange of Information. Additionally, St. Lucia has been removed from the State of Play document, which identifies jurisdictions which do not yet comply with all international tax standards, but which have made sufficient commitments to implement good tax governance principles. Meanwhile, Jamaica has been added to that document as it has committed to amend or abolish its harmful tax regime by the end of 2022. U.S. online publication TechCrunch is reporting the discovery of a second security lapse on the Jam COVID-19 website. In a report Monday, it said Amber Group fixed another lapse which exposed private keys and passwords for the app and website. TechCrunch said a security researcher reported Sunday that the Amber Group left a file on the Jam COVID-19 website by mistake, which contained passwords that would have granted access to the back-end systems. It said the researcher asked not to be named, fearing legal repercussions from the Jamaican government. According to TechCrunch, it alerted the Amber Group about the security lapse, and the exposed file was pulled offline. Last week, the publication revealed a weakness on the website and app, which it said left hundreds of thousands of travelers' data exposed. President of Haiti, Moise, told the UN Security Council on Monday that democracy was doing well in Haiti despite its ongoing political crisis. Moise has been ruling by decree for a year because there currently is no parliament and only a third of its senators are in office. Legislative elections due in 2018 were delayed. He also maintains that his term lasts until February 2022, but the opposition argues it should have ended 2 weeks ago. During a rare address by a head of state, Moise said that in 4 years his country had had to face down bids to interrupt the constitutional order through violence. During a speech that lasted 27 minutes, Moise said this lobby was associated with sore losers who have violently blocked the Senate's regular functioning. Guyana's Minister of Labor, Joseph Hamilton, is urging foreign investors to adhere to the country's labor laws. Speaking at a one-day seminar hosted for Chinese entrepreneurs on Sunday, Hamilton said he was aware businesses work to make good returns on their investments, but the government would not allow the law to be disregarded. Hamilton said employees would not be left to suffer at the hands of their managers. Additionally, Hamilton said his ministry is reviewing the labor laws to make the fines more punitive to ensure full adherence. The ministry has increased the number of labor officers from 16 to 26. Lawmakers in Guatemala called Monday for an investigation into 30,000 fake COVID-19 tests that were bought by public health officials. The 30,000 tests and testing materials cost the Central American country's health ministry almost $1 million, but were found to be unreliable, the AP reported. Jordan Rodas, the head of the country's human rights agency, said Monday, quote, "It is inconceivable that in the midst of a humanitarian crisis, there is corruption in even the purchase of COVID-19 tests," end quote. A private Guatemala company says it bought the tests from a U.S. firm which denies having sold them. European Union foreign ministers on Monday agreed to sanction 19 Venezuelan officials for, quote, "undermining democracy and human rights abuses," end quote. The move brings to 55 the total number of members of President Nicolas Maduro's regime to be slapped with asset freezes and travel bans by the bloc. The EU expanded the list after rejecting a December legislative election that saw Maduro win total control of parliament after an opposition boycott. The bloc began imposing sanctions on Venezuela in 2017 as Maduro cracked down on opposition. Cocaine weighing 2,300 kilograms, an estimated value of $256 million has been found inside a consignment of bananas that arrived in the UK from Colombia. The haul of cocaine was intercepted in Portsmouth and the drugs were removed, the National Crime Agency said. The pallets were then loaded with dummy packages and delivered to Tottenham Industrial Estate in North London. 10 people were arrested over the haul, which represents one of the UK's biggest ever drugs seizures. The NCA said 3 people had been charged. The raid was the culmination of a week-long investigation following intelligence received by detectives. The wife of jailed Mexican drug lord Joaquim El Chapo Guzman has been arrested in the U.S. on suspicion of drug trafficking, U.S. authorities say. Emma Coronel Aispuro, 31, was detained at Dulles International Airport outside Washington, D.C. She is charged with participating in a conspiracy to distribute cocaine, methamphetamine, heroin, and marijuana. Guzman is currently serving a life sentence in New York for drug trafficking and money laundering. The 63-year-old is a former head of the Sinaloa cartel, which officials say was the biggest supplier of drugs to the U.S. His trial in 2019 heard shocking revelations about his life, from drugging and raping girls as young as 13 to carrying out the cold-blooded murders of former cartel members and rivals. The U.S. Supreme Court on Monday allowed the release of Donald Trump's tax records to criminal prosecutors, rejecting a last-ditch bid by the former president's lawyers to keep them secret. Trump, 74, has been waging a legal battle to prevent his tax records from being handed over to New York prosecutors probing hush payments to women and possible fraud. The nation's highest court denied the request filed by lawyers for Trump without comment, paving the way for the documents to be handed over to the Manhattan District Attorney Cyrus Vance. The prosecutor, a Democrat, has been fighting for over a year to obtain 8 years of Trump's tax returns as part of an investigation into the ex-president's finances. And finally, an entire California school board has resigned after making disparaging remarks about families in an online meeting which they did not realize was being publicly live-streamed. The 4 members of Oakley Union Elementary School District Board stepped down by Friday amid growing outrage that began with the board's Wednesday meeting. Before the meeting began, they used profanity and made jokes about parents wanting a babysitter to smoke pot in their home. They want to pick on us because they want their babysitters back, one member said about parents. Another implied that parents wanted their children out of the house so they could take drugs during the day. Parents, however, had been joining the public call as it progressed. Uh-oh, said one board member when she was told that the meeting was open to the public right now. The WebEx meeting immediately went into private status. The incident garnered national attention and widespread condemnation. That's it for CGN News. I'm Scott Wilson. Thanks for watching.